Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trey Strelko. He is Adam Eaton. Welcome in to Sons of UCF Live. It's been an interesting couple of days, hasn't it, Adam?
Well, what's going on? Anything happening? I haven't. I just woke up from a nap. What have I missed something? Has somebody entered a portal? Has somebody commented on something about college football? I may have missed it. Maybe catch me up today.
A lot of comings and goings, some stayings, at least one to talk about. But first, how many days ago was it that UCF led 14-0 on the road in Provo, on the cusp of bowl eligibility, and then the Knights were outscored 41-7 down the stretch, but it felt good in the first quarter at least.
Yeah, a hot start for the Knights. I mean, a little bit of a broken offense early on. I think a couple of scramble plays that net some points out for UCF. A touchdown actually called off the board too, by the way. We forget about the Dwayne Thomas touchdown that was called back. And you just kind of knew that maybe wasn't going to hold up for the entirety of the game. And, while the Knights kind of fought valiantly, and I think they had a good effort in there, once Parker Kingston took that punt back, it kind of felt like the wind went out of the sails. But, look, the guys fought. I mean, I don't think they quit in the game. They scored a late touchdown to at least make it serviceable. But that game, you said it in the post-game presser to Frost, Trace. That game was a microcosm of the season. Some good, some bad, some ugly, some head scratching, some injuries, some who is this guy, and all of that mixed in was a 4-quarter microcosm of the entire 2025 season.
The now 5-7 Knights, 2-7 in the Big 12, led in this one by quarterback Taven Jackson at 21-37, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 4-yard touchdown reception from A.G. Adai. And then, of course, we get news that Taven Jackson may be heading to the transfer portal. But let's listen to what he said just Saturday about his season and the Knights season.
Look back on this season for you.
Ups and downs, some good, some bad. Learning. Again, this was my first year of being playing a significant amount of games. I felt like as the season went on, I felt more comfortable. Obviously, I battled through injury almost every game this year, but that's just football. And so our training staff did a great job of getting me right for the games, and our team did a good job of putting me in the right positions to make plays.
You've gone through that portal process twice before. What goes into, your evaluation and both your decision to come here and then also kind of what your evaluation of the future looks like for you next year?
Yeah, when I went to portal, Coach Frost was the first one to call me. I was just looking for a place to play and showcase my talent, and Coach Frost blessed me with that opportunity. And yeah, the transfer portal is different now. It's crazy, but I don't really want to talk about that right now.
What does this team mean to you?
This team means everything to me. We have a brotherhood that's forming. We have a culture that's forming. That's very exciting for the fans for next year, and we'll be ready to go next year. We'll be ready.
And that's a culture you want to be a part of.
Yeah.
They'll be ready. They seem to be ready without Taven Jackson. I imagine that conversation between Scott Frost and Taven Jackson a little bit different than that first one back when Taven first spoke with Scott Frost.
Yeah, not gonna lie to you, Trace. That was kind of tough to watch now, kind of knowing what's happened, what's transpired. It certainly looked like a kid who was dealing with some emotions at that moment in time. And we all thought perhaps it was the emotions of just dealing with that game, but the weighing the heaviness of what the next steps are going to look like and what that could mean for him. And so you kind of hear that, what happens. And yeah, it just kind of makes you, almost makes you a little sad for what Taven maybe was going through. I know he's maligned as a quarterback, and certainly he had his challenges there, but he answered the bell for the Knights every game, and periods of time other guys didn't, and Taven did. So whatever his history will be with UCF, we have time to debate that all throughout the summer there, but that certainly was more interesting to watch after the fact, kind of knowing where things are right now.
Do you hear that noise? That the sound of the transfer portal?
I hear. Is it?
Ten long
goodness.
seconds.
Oh my God. Is that Kylan Fox? Kidding.
That's 10 seconds. right?
That's 10 seconds. Yes.
It
That's 10
seems
seconds.
it seems longer.
Well, you need more time for the portal. A lot of things going in the portal.
Things
This isn't a 2-second
swirling.
situation. Yeah.
Swirling in there. Kylan Fox, tight end, heading to that portal. He'll be in there with Taven Jackson. Defensive back Jair Brown is looking to go into that portal, and defensive back Tony Williams. What was the highlight of your experience with Tony Williams watching him this season for the Knights?
I thought he had special teams tackle against North Carolina A&T. I think he had a nice little tackle right near the
There's a
goal
little
line
bit of
there.
tape there that he can put out into the
Yeah.
portal.
Yeah, I think he had a tackle at the goal line there, for sure. Yeah, I mean, do you want me to play the sound again, or are we good?
No, we're good. We're good. We'll
Okay.
hear it again in a couple of weeks. With a couple
Okay.
of weeks. Any big loss here? There was some promise with Kylan Fox, but Dylan Wade has certainly emerged of late.
Yeah, big loss is tough, right? Because I don't know these guys in the locker room, what they are as teammates, what they are as, in the weight room, how they are in the film room, right? I think, Kylan Fox was a name that earlier this year I thought had the opportunity to kind of break out. I really thought the tight end could be a position that Frost wants to leverage. I was right about that. I was wrong about which tight end that was, obviously, as Dylan Wade sort of became the chief or the number one tight end for the Knights. So I think after the Kansas game, I think Kylan Fox's snap count really dwindled a bit, so probably not too terribly surprising. But I think the kid has a ton of upside potential, and for whatever reason, it's not going to work out here for him at UCF. But that's probably the one that I look at that list and say, okay, you could project out and see how a piece like that could fit into this Frost offense.
Well, a piece that will fit into the offense is wide receiver Wade and Charles. The kind of guy you want to pick up in a fantasy league. And then drop.
Who would drop him? Is a question.
Who would
I'd
drop?
ask myself.
Kind
Who
of
would
idiot
do that?
would drop a guy like
Morons.
that. Wade and
Yeah.
Charles announcing that would be me. Wade and Charles announcing that he will return. That's a good piece to have back for the Knights.
Yeah, look, you saw flashes of him, especially in the latter half of the season, making some plays, and I think he started to build some chemistry with Taven Jackson. So, can he build on that, right? Can he continue to kind of evolve and become that number one receiver for the Knights, and at least in that mix? Obviously, a position group that was maligned again throughout the season. So having him back with the talent that he brings, and hopefully another off season of work in the weight room, working with a quarterback, getting some continuity, understanding the system a little bit differently. Hopefully he's poised for an even better year in 2026.
Of course, he'll be joined by 13 early signing day signees, a small class. Scott Frost's first significant class. What are your big takeaways? I mean, the quarterbacks, that really stands out. Rocco Marriott in that mix.
Speed, right? I mean, obviously he talked a lot about, two guys who, you looked at the paper real quick, and I was like, does that say 5'7" and 5'9"? I don't know if that's Big 12 size, but Scott Frost talked about that having Big 12 speed. And so I think speed was certainly a theme that Frost talked a lot about. I think he talked a lot about, guys who have the ability to kind of grow into something for this program. Talked about getting kids in the weight room, really going after length on this class. So I think it's interesting to see kind of where they put their mark. Two quarterbacks kind of tells you a little bit about what they felt about that situation. But I think speed and some size and some positional, agility, I think are two things that stood out when you look at this list top to bottom.
Scott Frost's comments on the state of college football have really gone viral. And
What did he say? Did he say something?
Amongst Knight Nation.
I haven't heard anything.
I think lost in this, though, is that 5 of these 13 are from Florida and none from Greater Orlando. We are a bit removed from Orlando's hometown team and putting a fence around Central Florida, aren't we?
Yeah, that's an interesting stat, right? And again, he talked about going after guys that that fit their culture, what they wanted. But then he also said something to the effect of, I have coaches from all over the place, right? So I think that was probably the better tell, is where the coaching staff, who again came in last year from all different places, where their sort of recruiting base is at, and kind of getting kids from, I think Matt Achapinti's from New Jersey, Dante Carr's from Pennsylvania. So really kind of going into some of those areas that I think are, maybe better suited for some of the coaching staff versus that. I thought it was funny, though, when you kind of brought that question to him, and he was like, yeah, we got to look at that. He almost, I don't want to say seemed surprised by that, but it almost kind of looked like he kind of had like, oh, that's an interesting moment when he kind of looked at some of the stats there. So I'm curious how much that factored in at all, or what that strategy looked like for the entire recruiting staff.
28-minute presser. I found a 28-second soundbite of Scott Frost upbeat about his recruiting class.
We wanted guys that had traits that we think we can build into to make them better players than maybe where they're ranked at now, if I had to point to one thing. If you look at the group, there's a lot of size and length. I think we can get bigger. We certainly need to get a little tougher as a football team. But I really like the size and length of a lot of these guys. I like the elite speed of a lot of guys. And overall, I just like the upside of the class.
You know who's got a lot of upside? Our first guest, Chris Boyle, UCF beat writer for the Daytona Beach News Journal. Chris sitting right behind me there at that upbeat presser. Chris, welcome in to Suns Live.
I like to think I'm a high floor, low ceiling guy. You know, you're always going to get at least decent content from me.
What you missed in the pre-show is that I asked Adam to bring up the photo that he used to promote your appearance on the show. This is a guy that was at a Utah Jazz game about a week ago. That's what that is right there.
That nose just wants to attack you.
I just love the enthusiasm, the smile. This is a guy that was watching the Jazz and the Kings on Friday night in Salt Lake City and enjoying every moment of it, who wanted $20 if the
Jazz made 20 free throws. They cooperated. We just weren't sitting in the right section, unfortunately.
We were not in the lucky row. 13 signees at that press conference. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But I got to tell you, going in, I had some expectation that Scott Frost would bring a little upbeat smile and go through the 13, tout their statistics and their accomplishments. And instead, we got college football is failing all of us.
Well, I mean, that's what we got with Gus, right? Like Gus would kind of pump the tires on every one of the guys him and his staff had brought in. You know, Scott is who he is. I mean, he's pretty matter of fact, and I think you know, to expect anything more or anything less at this point, I think is a fault of us. I think on the whole, he has got some reason to be excited about this group. It's not a huge group, obviously. It's certainly not seen from a national perspective as a top end class. They're 14th in the Big 12. They're, you know, floating somewhere in the bottom half of the football bowl subdivision. But a lot of that has to do with strictly the numbers. You know, they're not bringing in 20 to 25 guys, or the numbers of West Virginia and North Carolina, which is just truly baffling to see any high school class in 2025 of 30 or 40 players. So it's a different type of approach, and I guess you'll see the full picture and the full vision of this staff as the next month or two rolls along with their additions in the portal, because I do think obviously fans want to win right now, and you're not necessarily going to do that by loading up on 18-year-olds. So I think if you're able to find guys that can help you in 2026 and potentially guys with extra eligibility, it kind of works its way out in the wash right now.
Who stands out in this class that you think could make an impact in 2026?
Next year, I mean, you'd like to see Rocco Marriott on the field at some point. I think if you can find a way to work him in early in the season, get his feet wet, would be an ideal situation. I always look at skill position players as guys where you can have them make an impact day one. Elijah Keys, I think, is interesting. Long physical corner from Fletcher High School up near the Jacksonville area, which I think is Adam's backyard, give or take. So I think he's a guy that they recruited early. They had him committed in March, and he never really wavered. He was, you know, solid the whole way. So they clearly see something in him as a short and long-term piece. From there, I think you're going to see guys, I think Arthur Lewis and Kaj Baker have chances too. I mean, you look at the opportunity at running back next year, there's not really much there that's proven. If everybody comes back as expected, you'd have Stacey Gage and Tavion Swin, who missed the entire season with a knee injury. A.G. Adai looked good at the end of the year in a change of pace role as a preferred walk-on true freshman. And then from there, I mean, you got two new guys. I expect that they're going to add somebody with a little bit more size and experience in the next couple of weeks here. But, you know, opportunity kind of knocks for those guys. If they hit the ground running, learn the playbook, and show what they can do in camp, why not?
Chris, you heard us talking in the green room. 5 of the 13 kids coming from Florida. In your estimation, big deal, little deal, or no deal on that?
Little deal. I think it's a little surprising that they didn't have as impactful a signing day at home. I think that can still be remedied if they get the commitment that they're hoping for. And Tyron Horns, who's an Under Armour All-American, he's a top 200 national prospect, according to 24/7 Sports, out of Booker High School in Sarasota. They're certainly hoping that he picks them in the end. He's supposed to announce during the game, so they feel good about their chances there. And a lot of the reports were kind of circling in on UCF being the potential landing spot for him. But yeah, I think you look into 2027, and I think if that trend continues, it becomes a bigger deal that you're not resonating and you're not being able to keep top end talent here. And, it's going to be hard now. You've seen this kind of 2-league system break off. Kids want to be in the SEC and the Big Ten because they're gobbling up all the at-large bids by and large. So is it going to be, if the Big 12 is going to prove in the long term to be a one-bid league, I mean, what really separates UCF's chances from the playoffs from USF's chances to make the playoffs if everybody's using full rev share, if they're both going to do that? So I think that's kind of the problem, is that you've got an opportunity to play bigger ball in the SEC or the Big Ten. And if they're going to be the teams that are having the such a grasp on the playoffs, you might run into more of a problem than you thought you would when you're entering the Power Four to begin with.
Chris, you've been covering signing days for a while now. How is it different now? How does it feel different? How is the process different in 2025 versus just 3 or 4 years ago and kind of the old traditional signing days?
It's far more apathetic because of how transient and how transactional it is. You don't see, certainly not this year, you didn't see drama, which is a good thing for Scott Frost, that he was very quick to point out yesterday that they didn't have to hold their breath or wait on anybody's letters. They were done at 10 a.m. The workday was finished at 10 a.m. Everybody got their letters in. But it's just a matter of you're not really planning to recruit these guys and have them on your roster for 4 or 5 years anymore. Like I was thinking about this earlier today, and it was something I planned to bring up at some point of the show. I think if you have a player on your team, a player that contributes to your program for 2 years, that's a win now. I think you should be happy if a player helps you on the field for 2 years. Even if they leave in the transfer portal to go get paid, they've done their time here and they've made the place better than when they first got here. It's just it's an unfair game right now. It's an inequitable game, and you're going to have to either adapt to it or you're going to have to accept it, one or the other. So I think realistically, it's a far different process in signing day. It used to be one of the big days on the calendar, and unless you're fighting for 5-star players on this day where the drama continues up until the moment the paperwork's filed, I don't think anybody really, it's not that nobody cares about it anymore. It's just you don't see the same level of excitement you used to.
You mentioned earlier UCF ranked so low just based on 13 as the number of recruits. Let's talk a little bit more about the quality. What else stands out to you about the quality of the recruits?
The quarterbacks are substantially bigger than expected. When Kane Archer was supposed to be, was supposed to be the guy, you saw him as kind of that Mackenzie Milton mold in terms of size profile. Now you got 2 guys in Dante Carr and Rocco Marriott that are 6'4", 220-pound, bulldozers that can run and leap and throw it, down the field. I think you certainly see that stand out as far as the traits are concerned. Big time arms, big time athleticism, and the frames to take punishment, which I think is a really important trait now in the Big 12. And really in football in general, it's an attritional sport. You're seeing quarterbacks go down more frequently across all levels of football than ever before. You're not going to, you're hardly going to get it through a year in which only one guy plays every snap. If you have them run the ball and throw the ball and stand back and touch it as many times as you're asking guys to do it now. So, and we've seen that play out plenty over the last 2 years. So the best case scenario is that one of these guys becomes good enough to trust and to retain and develop for multiple seasons. And from there, I think the other player I'm really intrigued by is Alassane Adrisu, not just from a wingspan perspective. He's huge. He's like almost a legit 6'7", and 260 pounds, but he's coming off of a patellar tendon injury. That's a tough knee injury to rehab from. As I grew up rooting for the Giants. I remember Victor Cruz suffered that injury. It took him a good solid 2 years to be, back on the field, and I wouldn't say he was ever quite the same after that. So you hope that advancements over the last decade have come a long way. But yeah, he's a player they're really excited about and was one of their key additions over the summer.
I quickly saw the comment that mentioned early signing day. Not early signing day, the regular one. What does that mean now? What do you think the strategy is for the traditional signing day?
I think February signings actually could be more interesting because with all these coaching changes that have happened at the last minute, and in the case of Penn State, it may never happen at all. But you're seeing more players waiver before getting their paperwork in, just to figure out what the plan is for the school, who's coming in, who's going to be the coach, who's going to be my position coach. So I think you will see a little bit more talent trickle into February. And once everybody knows what their rosters look like post portal, it might give a UCF an opportunity to say, all right, that guy is still out there. We like him. Why not go get him now? We know exactly how many spots we have. We know how much money we need to spend for it. Can we go make it happen? I think so. I think there will be a slight bit more importance potentially on February in the long term, just because of all the uncertainty that comes out of the late days of December now.
Do you think a kid has a chance to make some more money just by holding back and being more coveted in that time frame?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure. I think the money's kind of known by that point, what everybody's going to try to spend on a particular player. I think you want to be in as early as you can just to have a chance to play spring ball, to have a chance to get on the 2 deep and get on the field right away. So there's more value in that, I think, than just pure dollars and cents.
Chris, obviously a month until the portal officially, quote unquote, open. So still some stuff that can move. But now that we know the signing class, now that we kind of know what this team does on the field last year, who's leaving via graduation or out of eligibility, where are the weak spots that you see on this team that you think Frost and staff have to go address in the portal?
Well, I mean, quarterback, obviously, I think is got to be addressed now, especially with the news of Taven Jackson's impending departure. And, they're going to need to get, at the very least, a bridge, and at the very most, a legitimate starting quarterback. I think they're going to want a guy. I'm sure they want a guy that's got maybe 2 years of eligibility would be my guess. That way they can properly develop the 2 guys they've recruited here in this freshman class. But you've got to go get somebody that can make an impact and that can be somebody that you can trust from day one to win the job and to hold the job as long as he's healthy. So that's certainly area number one. The offensive line, I think, not only just from a talent perspective, but there's need there. You're losing, Cam Kinney, Jabari Brooks, Paul Rubelt. Those are 3 guys that played a ton of snaps for this team this season. I think you're going to need at least 2 or 3 impact players at that position for depth to develop. And you're also going to need, immediate starters there as well. And we'll see what they do as far as the offensive line coach is concerned, because it does sound like they're going to make an addition there as far as a permanent replacement for the late Sean Clark. The last area of need that I would suggest is probably in that middle area of the field, linebacker, safety. I mean, Philip Dunham and Cole Kozlowski were 2 bona fide hits in the portal last year. They were immediate plug and plays, and they gave UCF as good of a return on investment as you could probably hope at those 2 spots. So I think if they can go out and find some guys that can supplement what they have in those areas, that would be another key addition to.
Conversely, we're in cryptic tweet season, Chris, where every emoji tweeted by a player.
Oh, the last panic. 24 hours watching the Wade and Charles situation unfold was something.
Yeah, well, so we went from cryptic emoji to graphic tonight, where he's running it back. So assume that means he's coming back. Although I guess we'll know for sure.
I can confirm that both ends of that party are the deal seems to be done. Of course, nothing's fully set in stone until the window's closed, but it seems like they've reached an agreement and that Wade and Charles will be on the 2026 roster.
So who else on this current roster are guys that you don't think we can afford to be seeing tweeting emojis out in the next couple of weeks?
All right, so I this is going to lead into probably a story that I'm going to write in the next week or so. So let me plug that right away. Go check it out. Dylan Wade, I think, emerged as certainly with Kylan Fox leaving, and I understand that Kylan, the snap count dwindled as the year wore on. I'm surprised they didn't play those guys more often together. I think they were looking for an improvement in the run blocking department more than than a detriment to Kylan in any way, shape, or form. I think he's going to be a good ad for somebody. But yeah, I think when it comes down to it, I kind of lost my train of thought. I'm not going to lie to you here in the middle of live television.
Who do you not want tweeting emojis?
I'm sorry. Thank you. I completely blanked out. Dwayne Thomas. I mean, he's a guy that's been super versatile, that can help you in the backfield, can help you in the slot. And again, that running back position is kind of uncertain. He was one of the more reliable playmakers that you have. Lewis Carter, I thought, was a really, really good ad when they made it, and backed it up on the field throughout the course of the season with his ability to stop the run and help in coverage. Jaden Bellamy, I think at corner, was a really nice ad, a player that consistently locked up the opposing number one receiver and could travel. John Walker up front and Horace Lockett. I think those two guys could be a real handful for teams next year. I think your premium positions are obviously going to be defensive and offensive lines, and then the quarterback spot, which I think two of those spots are to be filled. So if you want to really kind of throw your resource into something from retention standpoint, I'd say the defensive line and making sure all those guys are happy too.
What'd you make of stuff? Go ahead.
Sorry, nothing goes with college football better than courtrooms and lawsuits. Any number of lawsuits that are out there right now that could get guys extra eligibility. Is there anybody in the UCF camp that you think or is able to benefit or could potentially benefit from any of these lawsuits hitting or
if the flat five thing comes to fruition, I don't know how soon that'll happen, but anyone that's played just straight up 4 years of college football, Philip Dunham immediately comes to mind, who played 2 years at Indiana, one at FAU, one at UCF, but played all but one game in those 4 seasons. So he's out of eligibility. But if they add a flat fifth year, I'd be first in line to try to get on the field for 2026 if he's not drafted. Or I think he may have declared, but when you get your draft advisory grade and find out where other teams see you, that could always change. I do think there's some players that will have the opportunity to go get a hardship waiver. One name I'd be interested to see how it plays out could be Nigel E. Kelly. He missed his second year at Miami with a shoulder injury. He only played 4 games that year, so I think he's got the possibility of getting one. But I don't know if he's got aspirations to maybe declare for the draft. That's again TBD. Cam Fancher with the hardship. He only played a couple of games this year because of the injury he suffered against Jacksonville State and then the broken ribs against Cincinnati. So there are a few guys that I'm curious to see if they seek additional eligibility and if they want to stick around here and play a role, whether that's in a starting or backup role is to be determined, of course.
What about Cole Kozlowski? Does he fall in that Pavia kind of lawsuit where playing at Colgate potentially helps him?
Yeah, I think he'd be another one like Dunham, where it's if they go for just a flat 5 years of eligibility, 5 years to play 5 seasons, right? So if that could more or less be him. We'll see how quickly they turn that around, because I'm sure teams would want an answer sooner than later, because they're already kind of building these rosters out to fit 105 spots, and you don't want to have to cut anybody last minute. There's only one portal window now. There's no spring portal window, so you kind of want to have everything set in stone by the time February rolls around, maybe the end of January.
We knew Scott Frost was going to need to hire an offensive line coach, but it sounded like from his comments during the presser that he's pretty comfortable with everybody else. You don't know who might leave, but it sounds like he's inclined to bring everybody back. Yeah,
and that tracks with his first tenure here. They all stuck together. He was very tight and very loyal to his staff in 2016 and 2017, and a lot of those guys went to Nebraska with him when he took the job there. So, barring a phone call, a raise, a job promotion somewhere else, I suspect the staff will be pretty similar. I don't think he's going to get rid of Mackenzie Milton for starters. I don't see him moving on from, and Alex Grinch, I think, was certainly one of the more polarizing hires, kind of earned his keep out there. I think a lot of people's opinions on Alex Grinch changed very quickly around these parts. And yeah, I think for the most part, I expect this staff to look pretty similar to the one that finished the year.
Let's button up on this recruiting class. What's your grade of this class?
I would grade it as a C-, but I think it can elevate if they get the guy that I mentioned earlier. Tyron Horns is a real difference maker. That's a good football player. He was the best receiver I saw at the Under Armour camp in Orlando back last February. Kind of one of those guys where you watch him play and you're like, all right, I got to check my notes to find out who the hell this guy is. He was the MVP at the position that day. He earned himself an invitation with his play and his statistics this year at Booker. That's a guy I think can really help UCF immediately. It's no secret that they've kept with him even when he decommitted and flipped to Michigan State. They didn't give up. Sean Beckton was in Sarasota a couple of times during the season to go watch his games and catch up with him. They never gave up on him, and we'll see if that resonates at the end of the day. But I think there's a chance to elevate it just because it's a small class and because, the national rankings are what they are. Doesn't mean it's a failure. Doesn't mean it's a cause for panic. See what the portal brings. I think that's going to be such a vital tool for UCF in this immediate area. And then as things level off, if Frost succeeds the way he hopes and the way UCF fans hope, I think you'll see more of a balance as the years go on.
What else are you working on writing-wise for the Daytona Beach News Journal?
Well, catching up on sleep is going to be important for me. It's been a long week. Not to mention we traveled from Utah this past Sunday, which, by the way, shout out to the non-casuals that made that trip. I think
we know who we are.
Yeah, we know who we are. You know what's interesting though is, and this is certainly not going to be popular on this channel, I may be covering USF a little bit for a minute or two.
All right, thank you, Chris Boyle.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm never going to come on this show again. No,
that green shirt makes a lot of sense now, Chris. All right, I see.
Between the hire of Brian Hartline, which I think is a fantastic hire. I think it's a really exciting hire if you're in Tampa. And then Brett McMurphy, right before I jumped on here, reported that they're going to be playing in the Cure Bowl against Old Dominion. So they may be out this way trying to, take over some territory. So if you're interested and you're in the area and you just want to yell and boo at somebody, if you're a UCF fan, just go cheer for Old Dominion for a day. You've never seen you've never seen a bigger group of Old Dominion fans in your entire life.
Chris Boyle, Daytona Beach News Journal. Thanks for being with us on Sons UCF Live. Happy holidays to you and your family.
You as well. Appreciate you guys. Take care.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. All right. What do you make of Chris's assessment of this class? What do you say? C? Do you say C minus?
Yeah. With the ability, the grade book's still open, I think is what Chris is saying. And Tyron Horns is the real deal, right? That'd certainly be a nice coup for UCF to kind of, maybe not a coup, but end this season on too. So it's tough because you're going to look at the numbers and say 13 kids, that's all we got, right? But I do think if you went and found the right pieces that you need, it certainly could elevate that too. So I think it's fair. I always hate when they do this, right? And I not Chris's fault that you asked him the question, like grade the draft, grade the recruiting. Nobody knows like 12 hours after something happens. So I think C is fine, but I think what I heard there's upside, and I'll take upside.
You know who would ask a question like that? A guy who dropped Wayton Charles from his fantasy team.
I know a guy like that.
That's who would ask a question like that. All right. It's all for the big doings in Texas on Saturday. BYU, Texas Tech, the rematch. Let's go around the Big 12 with Jeff Allen.
We will crown a champion in the Big 12 on Saturday at Jerry World in Arlington as number 4 Texas Tech battles number 11 BYU. It's a rematch of their previous encounter back on November 8th when the Red Raiders romped over the Cougars 29-7 in Lubbock. As far as the college football playoff is concerned, Texas Tech appears to be a lock no matter the outcome of the Big 12 championship. With that number 4 ranking, a win should guarantee a first-round bye. If BYU wins, they would get the automatic qualifier, and Tech probably remains in the playoff, and the conference gets 2 bids. However, Don't forget back in the 4-team playoff a few years ago when TCU was in the top 4 in each release until they weren't at the end. Texas Tech presumably would not get bounced, but to me, you never know with a committee that has a thirst to get in as many SEC teams as possible. Texas Tech versus BYU for the Big 12 Championship airs Saturday at noon on ABC. With your Big 12 Minutes, I'm Jeff Allen.
All right. A little bit of you rooting for Texas Tech because of former UCF Knight Lee Hunter on that roster?
I don't know who I'm rooting for yet, honestly, because I found myself uber annoyed at BYU on Saturday, just not because of them per se, but the broadcast and some weird video they played about Bear Bachmeier that may or may not have been safe for work. I'm not even really sure. So I'll have to see how the game goes, who I'm rooting for, because BYU is annoying, but I don't like how Texas Tech just kind of bought a championship here. So I don't know. I'll figure it out as the game gets underway.
You caught up with Lee Hunter when we were at Big 12 Media Days in Texas just 5+ months ago. And that was still fresh, him leaving for Texas Tech from UCF.
What advice would you give to a player who's thinking about the portal right now?
Know why you're doing something. Just don't enter the portal because it's money, because money is the root of all evil. Like, you can have a lot of money, you can be miserable. So don't just enter it just because somebody call you and say this and that about money. Just don't enter the portal, because you can have a lot of money, but you can be in a worse situation with the money than you did last year. So that's my advice to people. Just go to a place where they got great people that can help you grow and elevate in many ways.
Well, it was funny when I went back and listened to that interview. One of the questions she asked him was, "What's there to do in Lubbock? Do you like Lubbock?"
That's a fair question. I've never been to Lubbock. I'm not going anytime soon. I thought it was a fair question.
He's making some coin, and Texas Tech is in a favored position over BYU, and they're solid where they are right now in this college football playoff.
Yeah, I just want a good game. I hate to be that guy that, like, I hope both teams have fun, but I want a good game, at least something that'll kind of keep us, interested and intrigued. I mean, it sounds like, I've seen on online today, BYU is going to have a massive crowd at that game too. So I'm just curious to see the atmosphere and how it all breaks down. Let's just get a good game, and I'll decide halfway through maybe who I feel like I'm rooting for.
We were at the Star for Big 12 Media Days back in July with our next guest, Robert Aronoff, the new publisher of Knights 24/7 with Latavius Murray. So we decided to go back to that area, and it helps that Robert doesn't live very far away. Robert, you getting ready to cover the game? It'll bookend for you from Big 12 Media Days to the Big 12 Championship game.
Yeah, we, the new slogan, I guess, over at Knights 24/7 is wire to wire. We're here at the beginning of the season for Big 12 Media Days. We're here the night before or a couple of days before the championship game, which happens just down the road in Arlington at the place where the Cowboys play football. And covered the game last year. Looking forward to covering the game this year. We're going to talk with the commissioner on Saturday morning before the game. Game local time is 11. We'll be here covering the game from a UCF perspective to cover the Big 12 championship and let everybody know what's going on.
What is that one question you want to ask Brett Yormark?
I think I'm going to ask Brett Yormark to follow up on Scott Frost's statement about college football being broken. So I think that probably is the big thing I wanted to focus on with him. Maybe in terms of playoff, number of teams getting in the playoff. Those are the two things I think I'll be most interested in when we talk to him on Saturday morning.
I don't know if you can see your phone, but Matt Dolan has issued a challenge to you, $100 to Robert's favorite charity if he picks up one of the gifts under the tree and takes it home.
You know what? As we close out this segment, I just might do that.
And takes it home, I think, is the other part.
Mario will give you $100 if you jump through the tree. So you can decide.
There's a chance for your
either
charity.
of those two, Robert. That's up to you.
This is my previous life coming back to haunt me, I see.
Yes, that's how do they have the game on behind you, Robert? Is that live?
Yeah, this is the Star. This is the Cowboys headquarters here in Frisco, Texas, and they always have the game up on the big screen. And it's Detroit and the Cowboys playing right now, and they always got that live going on. Place is decorated for Christmas. It looks really great, and it's a nice experience.
They're a little bit behind me, though. What's the crowd look like there? What's a crowd look like to gather to watch a game outside the Star right now?
It's a lot of little kids on the field. It's
okay.
This is a big shopping district, so it's a lot of people just casually walking by and checking out the game as they're walking from shop to restaurant.
So, do you feel comfortable leaving your phone on the tripod and walking across the street?
Who says I'm going to leave it on the tripod? I'll take it with me.
Well, let's go. Let's go. You're our guest in this section of the show. Let's just
Look before you cross the street, please.
Now look both ways.
I
Okay,
don't
there are
want
cars.
This is gonna get.
There are cars crossing.
I need to get Michael Hoffman on the phone.
What's
from
the
legal
liability if
standpoint.
something happens
Yeah,
to
I
Robert
need
Aronoff?
Michael Hoffman, call in stat. I need to understand.
Well, look, I got two issues here. First of all,
That's it.
Your
the
issues.
presence-
Your issues have issues.
Trace, only one of us fits that moniker. The boxes are bigger than me. Okay,
Well,
so there would be
it's
no
for
picking up
charity,
these
Robert.
boxes.
I mean, where's
There
your
would be
commitment?
no picking up these boxes. Plus, it is currently being guarded by this young lady. Hello.
He does not like you touching her.
She
Yeah,
does not look-
did not like
She doesn't want to
that.
talk to me. That's okay. But I can't steal any boxes because she would tackle me, and all good.
Is there another challenge? Bail is $308 in Frisco for minor violations, says Mario.
Mario would know that.
Tell us what thing Mario would know. Tell us what's been going on at 24/7, what we can look forward to here, not only with early signing day yesterday, but as the transfer portal gets ready to open in a couple of weeks.
I tell you what, we are coming here. The Big 12 championship game is essentially kind of the cap to the football season for us from our first year covering the Big 12 and UCF football. And we've built a great staff of people that are producing all kinds of articles and insights. We've got a fresh message board where it's not bogged down with politics and people complaining. It's
what fun
breaking
is
news
that?
and
People are
insights.
not complaining on that message board. What?
Well, people will complain, but they complain about football, not about politics. And we got a lot of fresh voices. Andrew Cherick. There are some things, for example, that Andrew Cherico learns about, portal and personnel stuff that we won't put into an article, but it's worthy of mentioning on the message board. And that's the kind of insight you're going to get there on that message board at Knights 24/7.
Robert Aronoff, 2 letters, 2 words, publisher at Knights 24/7 with Latavius Murray. Tell Lee Hunter hello from the Sons of UCF. Enjoy the game on Saturday.
We are going to try to talk with Lee at the very least after the game, and we'll be sharing some of that sound and video with you, okay?
All right. Robert's issues have issues.
Stay out of jail.
Stay out of jail.
That lady did not like him. That lady was
no.
No. Oh no. He needs to get away from that scene quickly.
No.
Oh, he's trying to talk to her now in the green room. She waved at him. I think we're good. Okay.
Oh, we're good. Big 12 announcing it's all Big 12 teams. Defensive lineman Malachi Lawrence, first team. UCF has a first teamer on that. Deserved, right?
I think that's a guy we're going to miss more than we realize right now. I know we're talking a lot about Miles and Jaden and Rube. I think that's a guy come middle of next year. You're going to be like, man, I wish we had a Malachi Lawrence on the edge too. 4-year guy, which you're not going to see a lot of, probably very much in the future. Quiet, humble kid, always came to work, was easy to root for too. So well deserved. I'm glad some representation from UCF made it onto a first team in the Big 12. There certainly wasn't anybody in offense on that list, so I'm glad somebody in defense made it.
Linebacker Cole Kozlowski, third team. What do you think the chances are that he finds his way back? Could you explain a little bit more? Chris and you were talking about this. Reference the possibility. What's that involve?
Yeah, there's any number of lawsuits that are out there. I know Diego Pavia and others have filed a suit because they played junior college ball, they played Division II football. They're saying those years don't count, ergo their clock shouldn't start. So I think there's any number of reasons that other guys are getting extra years now, and those suits are going forward too. I think there's a basketball player doing something similar. So when those things happen, typically injunctions go down, and everybody who falls into that pool is eligible to potentially grab another year. Joey Aguilar, the quarterback at Tennessee, was the benefit of that ruling last year, which is how he's playing at Tennessee this year. So I think there's opportunity with the legal system, and every day someone's suing the NCAA for something. It's not zero. It all depends on if Cole would want to come back. Would another school maybe go after him? Does he want to get his career started, go to the league, try to go play football? So a lot of what ifs there, but still is an issue that is out there. And you're seeing guys like Diego Pavia and Joey Aguilar benefit from that rule. Perhaps that's something that UCF and Cole Kozlowski can benefit from as well.
That's what's going to sting about the transfer portal era. When you see an athlete, whatever the sport is, that you really like, you really want back, and they have that just the 1 year, the one and done with you. And one of those is kicker Noe Ruelas. He's also on the third team, all Big 12. Any loophole he can find and come back?
He was at James Madison, who just hired Billy Napier, by the way. Good luck there. And UConn. So I don't know, again, unless it's the 5-for-5 thing where he's played four actual years, so he gets a fifth year. But I'm sure Coach Frost and the staff are looking at these guys and, hey, I think we found a loophole. And I'm sure if there's any way that there's an interest on both sides there, I'm sure everybody at UCF looks for that.
Well, you put a bow on the season nicely in this week's newsletter for 365 Sports.
Yeah, sure did. Trace talked a little bit about the BYU loss, and really the theme of the article this week was 45 days to the future. UCF starting this week, December 1st, essentially 45 days till the portal closes. This next 45-day window will obviously shed a lot of light on what the 2026 season looks like. And I, not trying to be hyperbolic when I say this may be one of the more crucial times in UCF football history, because if you swing and miss in this particular period, you don't want to continue to fall behind other schools, other areas, other resources. So this 45-day window certainly could prove to be one that we look back on with great remembrance and pride, or one that puts us in an even deeper cave here. So check that out, 365sports.video.
You compared it to UCF's first year at the FBS level. Is that right?
Yeah, well, essentially. I mean, I think since they've been here, this is probably one of the more crucial off seasons, right? I mean, you could talk through the Frost to Heupel transition being another one, right? But I think that it's akin to that. Can you step into this new era? And there's a lot of talk about broken college football and yada yada, right? But the reality is that the game has changed. Can UCF level up and get to that spot similar to what they did in 1996 coming to D1? So I do think it's going to be a crucial time, and we'll look back on it. If we're still doing shows 10 years and we're bailing Robert out of jail at that point, perhaps we'll look back on this and we'll talk more about this 45-day window and either how it helped or how it hurt UCF football.
Well, we had early signing day this week on the tail end of the 5-7 season. And then you've got the portal opening. There will be at least one coaching move, and before we know it, we will be to spring camp not long after that portal opens. So there will still be plenty of football to talk all offseason. However, men's basketball winding down its non-conference schedule, 6 straight wins. They now 7-1 following an 82-57 win over VMI, and a solid performance. Somehow, I picked Riley Kugel, and he got a 0. I don't know how that's possible when you put up 82 points, but let's hear from head coach Johnny Dawkins on his team's performance against VMI and, some things they need to clean up going forward.
And so our guys understand, like you're going to have nights, as I said before, where you're not going to make shots like you want to. So you have to make sure that you understand what's the next plays that are available and make the plays that are in front of you. And I thought our guys did a really good job of making the plays in front of us, especially, Jermichael had 10 of those offensive rebounds. That's incredible. So really proud of his overall effort and energy that he brought. And then, like I said, for them, I'm looking at what they were able to do. They had 16-0 boards. So, we have to do, as good as we did, rebound the basketball, we have to even be better because they were able to, secure a number of rebounds, especially offensive rebounds against us as well.
Suns intern Diego Ortiz covered that game. His stories on the Suns YouTube channel. He supplied the soundbite there. Eric Lopez, who also broadcast that game with Mark Daniels out in Provo, said Towson on Sunday, 4:00, sneaky good, could be a problem for the Knights.
Yeah, look, I think you said something interesting. When have we ever said that the Knights' best player, which I think we can probably argue Riley Kugel is that, scored 0 points and the Knights still had a double-digit victory?
Yeah.
I think that just tells you kind of the depth and the way this team is positioned this year. And I said this on Around the Kingdom Overtime. That's now available as well. When's the last time we had an inside force like a Jermichael Stillwell, somebody who you knew could get you a double-double like he did against VMI? When's the last time you saw that? So I think this team is built a little differently. Early returns are good. Obviously, still some ball to play. These Sunday 4:00 games that were sneaky, Trace. Finals are just wrapping up. Students are going to be going back home. NFL football will be on, so crowd may be smaller. It's been a week since the team has played. Probably a little bit of rust. I feel like this is one where, Elo's onto something with this. This one may be closer than we suspect, not just because Towson is a quality team, but I think those other factors could play a part as well.
What do you make of the Knights 58 in the initial net rankings? I mean, I think they've put together a pretty competitive non-conference schedule. The one loss is to Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt, by the way, pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the trick with the net is never to look at your own number, but rather look at the numbers of the teams that you played, right? And so, who are the quad 1, quad 2 wins, and or losses in this case, right? So, I think the net's a little lower, but that's going to have time to continue to flourish. You're going to get into Big 12 play, and you're going to be playing some of the top 25 teams in the conference. So, I think the net for UCF has a chance to move and modify and maybe look a little bit better as the season goes on. But with the net, I think the risk is, again, look at the teams you're playing, not necessarily your net rating, I think, is how that usually goes.
You mentioned Around the Kingdom, now available both in audio and on Sun's YouTube. I would have loved to have seen Eric Lopez's face when he got the initial rundown where I asked for his way too early predictions on the 2026 football season. I know he doesn't like that kind of thing. He's like, you don't even know who's on the roster. You don't know who's on the other team's rosters. You don't know when the games are. You don't know if there's a back-to-back road. You don't know any of these things. But there wasn't a great deal of optimism. We have a clip from that, and I think this is a first for Sons of UCF Live.
First ever, yes.
We're previewing a clip you've never seen before.
Never seen, never heard.
Because it's still happening, right? They're still recording.
Yeah.
I just imagine Scott Frost sitting down and being like, hey, Taven, I know that every single part of your body hurts. I know that we're wheeling you from practice to the film room. But good news, we're 5-6 and have a chance to make a bowl. So can you suit up against one of the most physical teams in the entire country in 11-1 BYU? And he's like, he is like, give him the cane. They hand him the cane, gets up, and he goes, send me out there. Like, that's,
And then he has 2 great drives.
2 great drives where he had some magical moments to put UCF at 14-0, and then UCF went, oh, wait, right, no, we're not good at football, and this is what it is. So,
but some people think, Trace, it was a successful season. Our friends at the Pegasus podcast are celebrating. Wow, this team overachieved. It's a good year. It's week 0. Let's give a pass. Are you happy? Do you think it's a success or disappointing year?
What did I think? What did I say?
I actually don't even remember what you said. Luckily, I can go back and watch if I wanted to.
What's your word? Success or disappointment for you on 5-7? And the second question there is, do you consider this year 0? I thought it was interesting. Scott Frost saying it's really an 18-month window on recruiting. I'm not saying he's wrong. He knows more about it than I do, but it seemed like he's trying to stretch out that runway before we can start the clock.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I only get the options of success or disappointment, I mean,
you called them 7-5. That was your preseason.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I got to go disappointment. I think if anything, I would say met expectations. You kind of expected this was going to be it. Year 0. I mean, look, he didn't get a full class. He came in late. Recruiting was already behind. Had to hire a staff. So yes, there were some things stacked against him, but you can't call it year 0 because we still paid him. Yes. So his contract didn't have a year 0 in it. So I don't know that I can call it year 0. Was it a rebuilding year? Was it a reshaping year? Was it sort of a reinvent year? Yes, but I don't think you can call it year 0. I think I saw it, you saw it, he got paid for it, the players got paid for it. So I think it's a year 1.
I think we will never fully understand the emotions for this team around the passing of offensive line coach Sean Clark. It has come up in conversation and pressers a couple times throughout the season. It's still very raw for Scott Frost. He spoke about it during his early signing day presser. That really was a tremendous impact on this team. I'm not trying to make excuses, but that's who goes through that during a season. It's such a rarity.
Yeah, look, we've all dealt with loss and tragedy in our own personal lives. I'm sure, and those feelings are obviously very individuals, and that's the challenge, Trace. Is you can't. It's not a blanket statement. Like, different people are going to feel that differently. It's going to impact them differently. It's going to be a part of their lives differently. So, but you can certainly tell it's still kind of a raw emotion, I think, for Scott Frost and probably for a lot of the players in the team as well. So, does that play a role? Sure. Again, that's kind of the human side of these things. Is we also don't know what's happening in a lot of kids' lives, but I think I think the team did as best they could to try to move forward and honor Coach Clark the best way they could. But I still think it'll be raw probably for a long time for a lot of those kids and some of the coaches on that staff.
Yeah, I asked Chris Boyle off the top just about the tone and tenor of the presser with Scott Frost. Something that you like to say is that more than one thing can be true, right? I think what Scott Frost candidly shared about his thoughts on college football can be true, but time and a place. And I wish he had come out with an upbeat message about these 13 new signees. I think the questions would have still meandered around. It's funny how you're talking about the changes in early signing day or signing day in general. Every question would have been about, tell me about this running back and this linebacker and this. And it's funny, the questions that ended up being asked by the collective there that led to that now more viral moment.
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? Because Frost is who he is. He's always going to tell you a little bit of something, right? His delivery has always been sort of monotone and very, very flatlined. And so I get how that, doesn't come across. I was more on the boat you were. I went back and counted. I think he said 17 words about Rocco Marriott, 17 total words. And again, this is the right now, the centerpiece of your class, a quarterback you went after, the highest rated recruit on this class, the highest rated quarterback recruit ever. I do think there would have been an opportunity to talk more about what he brings. And we got 17 words from Frost out of that too. So I do think, and I understand how that rubbed some fans kind of the wrong way. And then some of the clips get out there and, I think we've heard it before. This is not new information, right? I think a lot of people are in the same boat of, I don't care about the pain. Show me the baby, right? I think it just continue to keep saying that over and over again. And I think at some point it's going to rub people the wrong way.
Well, I've been thinking, I asked you, I think it was today I messaged you, how many times do you remember any talk leaking out on message boards or social media of Scott Frost headlining a fundraiser or some sort of donor event? I mean, you've got to, in that role, be chief cheerleader too, right? I think monotone delivery, cerebral disposition aside, and I like that. I don't think we get a lot of coach speak. I think he's been pretty candid and honest. But this was a moment to bring his agenda and set the tone. He doesn't have to overhype the way Gus did, but he could have waxed poetic about these 13 guys. I mean, there were some questions about some guys, but I'm not sure if you watch those 28 minutes, which you can find on Sun's YouTube, that you would come away with a greater understanding about each of those players. And as you mentioned, I didn't know that 17 words on Rocco Marriott. There's probably a lot more to say about the kid than that.
Yeah, again, I think that's if there's a miss there, I'll quote our good friend Dolly Drama, who says every time Scott Frost is in front of a podium, he's selling. He's selling to us. He's selling to donors. He's selling to high school kids, selling to the kids in his locker room, right? He's, whether he knows it or not, he's a salesman in that moment, right? And he's not in front of the podium all the time. And so when you get those opportunities, you'd like to see a little bit more of the ability to look at that from a sales perspective. And that one came across a little flat. That came across a little ho-hum. You could have taken a nap during that press conference and woken up and been like, hey, we're still talking here? I don't think there was anything that really excited you outside of the viral clips that are kind of floating around now about, football being broken and all that other stuff.
Well, you're selling hope, right? There's hopium there. You got to be excited. I know UCF announced some donations, some significant dollar donations across the day following early signing day. I don't know if those were held back and dropped over the course of the day, but you wonder how many people were reaching into their wallet ready to donate based on listening to any of that college football is broken. I mean, I'm not saying he's wrong. I just wish that maybe the tone had been a little bit different. And those questions would have still come. And I think he's answered those questions pretty honestly, that fans agree, but he is the chief cheerleader now. And I think there's somewhere in between what he presented and what we heard from Gus, right? There's somewhere in between that you want to have some candidness, some honesty, not blowing smoke, but you want to get up and be excited and say, how do I jump on board this? How do I get season tickets? How do I make a donation? And I don't know that they achieved that at the early signing day presser. And we won't hear from Scott Frost again until when? Somewhere after the transfer portal closes, perhaps.
Maybe.
If then, maybe before preseason camp opens, maybe then,
Yeah, I think looking through comments yesterday and trying to understand, some of the sentiment from fans. I think the word I kept seeing a lot of was just momentum. I think fans wanted to feel a bit of a positive momentum, right? And to your point, I don't think you walked away from that press conference feeling like, oh wow, like we've got something here, right? I think you kind of walked away with a little bit of like what did I just watch there? And I think fans are looking for that momentum, for that sort of upward arrow point. And again, I don't think you walked away from that. But I look at this like it's finals week at UCF, right? I look at this period of time for Scott Frost like he's in a class, right? He's got 3 big tests coming up. The first one is called a small quiz, which was signing day, right? Chris Boyle gave him a C. All right. The next test he has is retention of player and trying to keep the guys on the team that he wants to keep on the team, right? So roster construction and evaluation, right? That's his next test. We'll know the answers to that as we see who's in the portal and who's not in the portal. And then the final exam is going to be what he and that staff can do in the portal to buttress this roster. So I think after those 3 events, it's fair to look back and go, okay, where are we from a momentum standpoint right now? So if you want to say the first quiz of the class, Frost maybe didn't do as well, and we got a C or C minus, we still have some time to get our final grade up here. So let's see how these next couple of weeks, pan out. Let's see how we do on the big test and then the final exam before we, I think, try to make a narrative out of what this period of time will look like.
Going to be a busy offseason of evaluating those 3 and that 45-day window that you spoke of. So
I will say this though, I do want to make sure I appreciate his honesty. I think you've sat in front of many pressers. I've edited more pressers than I want to of coach speak and mumbo jumbo and 1-0 and touch the grass and real ball coach and all that stuff.
Snapped a whistle, Adam.
I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate that he wants to talk and tell us things, and he probably says some stuff that he knows he probably shouldn't, but I think he wants to share and be transparent. So I do appreciate the honesty. I think sometimes honesty is a good thing, and sometimes you can use honesty to hit someone over the head with a hammer. I think he's got to figure out how to weave that honesty in with a little bit of messaging, a little bit of excitement, a little bit of strategy about what this looks like. So I'm asking him to become a master orator, which is maybe not what a football coach is supposed to do, but I do think there's an ability for him to kind of fix some of that stuff.
What was the most genuine moment from Scott Frost over this year? Is there something that comes to mind? Or has he been pretty consistent? Win, lose? I mean, is there any moment where he was overly excited? I mean, I think the media questions tried to set him up on the shirtless fans at the game, and he said, I didn't see it. And it was like a missed moment to connect. And what I thought was maybe the best moment of the year was that genuine show of support. What's the moment that
I think there's been a couple of locker room clips that we've seen where he's, rallied the kids and proud of the kids kind of stuff. That's probably it. I mean, in front of podiums, no, I think, again, he's very, very much, like a duck swimming across water. Like not much is moving there on the surface.
Let's go around the kingdom. Women's basketball falls to 6-3. They lose to Stetson 70-67. Hatters are coached by Lynn Bria, former UCF coach back in the day, 96-99. Led the Knights in that 99 season to a 20-10 record back in the TAC. Remember the TAC?
I do remember the TAC.
You remember what it stood for? TAC?
Trans-American Athletic Conference, right?
Trans. I don't know.
Well,
it was a different time.
Nothing's wrong with that.
Into the NCAA. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Into the NCAA tournament. Next up, Delaware State. What's their nickname? Delaware's the Blue Hens. What's Delaware State?
They're the Red Hens. But if I'm looking at the time, is that another doubleheader situation? Are they doing
1 o'clock and then 4 o'clock. So women's basketball will be over 3, and the media responsibilities by about 3:30. They should be on time. Should be an on-time start.
Okay.
Volleyball splits Kansas State. They finish 17-12, 8-10 in head coach Matt Botsford's first season. 10 Big 12 schools going to the NCAA tournament in volleyball. Strong league. Outside hitter Ava Armour, first team All Big 12, Scholar Athlete of the Year, and libero Alexa Haley, All Big 12 rookie team. So a couple of pieces there. You like to see players make these All Big 12 teams since we're not seeing players on the watch list anymore for the big awards. So no more.
More volleyball coverage, by the way, in this week's Around the Kingdom. Check that out.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Time to open the mailbag with Mr. Sunshine, Brian W. Peterson.
So it's a mailbag. So what?
So what? Do you know whose mailbag that is?
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
It means a lot. Sons of UCF, man, listen, they gave me a great campaign.
Sons of UCF, baby.
Hi, fellas.
That's the
That
last
was the
time.
moment.
Yes, that's the last time I saw Frost.
That
And that
was
actually
the
came
happiest.
after a really interesting moment at the timeline of that. That's after the Vanini comments came out too.
Speaking of comments, some of you may not have seen Brian W. Peterson's screed on the Scott Frost presser at early signing day. What do you make of Mr. Happy and Mr. Sunshine there with a little gloom and doom? Dolly Drama, also a little gloom and doom. That was not a good social media timeline for about 12 hours on Wednesday.
Look, I make that Brian and Dolly and others like them are real passionate fans who are concerned about their program, and their criticisms, critiques, their manifestos, as they were, come from a place of wanting to improve, wanting to be better, wanting to see trajectory, not from a place of negativity. So I think fan bases need all of that, right? I think you need fans who are going to get frustrated at times and say certain things. And I think it comes from a place that's not performative. It's not scripted. This isn't a bit anyone's running. And so I appreciate the fans like a Brian, like a Dolly, like others that I saw that were like, whoa, wait a second. Like, I'm not feeling great about this. And I think it's a healthy part of the fan base that this morning, Brian kind of calmed himself down. Some other folks kind of chimed in, right? And it kind of allows you to have a cathartic moment. So I think it's indicative of somebody like a Brian who's a really big fan and wants to see great things for his university and his football team.
I like it. I like that answer. At Golden Knight _2. Appreciate the shout out last week, but you didn't answer the question. Sorry.
What was the question?
I don't. The same question here. With UCF being the only team yet to have a winning record in the Big 12, how do we avoid being labeled as irrelevant with a massive gap of funding, recruiting, and facilities versus our peers? The only way out of that, I think, is you got to regain that chip on the shoulder, the little engine that could. UCF against the world. I would say, though, in the college landscape, it is comments like Scott Frost that go viral. Other than that, UCF is essentially irrelevant.
Well, look, I think winning helps, right? And you're going to say, well, how do you win in this era of college athletics, right? You need money, you need dollars, you need all that stuff too. So that's certainly one caveat. Maybe I'm naive on this one, Trace. I feel like if you can be known as a coach and coaching staff in a place where players can come and get developed and have success at the next level and get ready for the next level, I think players would want to play in that. So yeah, you may not get the kid who wants X valuation. You get the next kid down in the tier, but you can develop these players and move them on the next level and get them into careers in the NFL or the UFL if that's still around or whatever. I think kids will see track record of success from a coaching staff and want to go to that too. So I think you can coach your way to some level of success. And I think kids will see that.
Dr. Snap and Pop, 2 parts here. Are we, this generation's Kansas, just a doormat for the rest of the league? I don't think it's an easy win, right? I mean, and UCF did beat some teams. They weren't last.
Well, it's an easy win if we're on the road. So we're coming to your place.
Yeah.
So far, it's been an easy win. I think we've played some teams tough at home. Obviously, got some home wins. It's a great question, and I don't know that I have an answer. I think it bears monitoring. Yeah, it definitely bears monitoring.
Put that into the Bears monitoring.
Put that into the whatever. Miguel, put that in the Bears monitoring file.
Second question. How do you feel about Frost always bringing up how broken or bad college football is? It seems many are fed up with his constant quotes, whining. Is UCF done? I don't think, not ready to stick a fork in UCF, but the challenges are real.
Again, I appreciate he's asked a question. He answers the question, right? I mean, he's asked about certain things. He offers an answer. I appreciate that. I do think there is a time where all of that is stated and known and understood, and it doesn't have to always be mentioned in every conversation. But I appreciate that. He's asked a question. He answers it. But I think maybe it's time we stop looking at what we don't have and what's not here. I think Carson Engel had a really great tweet out there. If you don't follow Carson on Twitter, we're talking about UCF's always kind of been a school that, how do you adapt? How do you overcome? How do you get creative and find creative solutions to complex problems? And I think that's what people are looking for. We know the problem. It's well documented. We all get it. But how are we kind of thinking about that? How are we going past that? I think that's what people want to hear about going forward.
What's your confidence in Scott Frost, Terry Mohajir athletics to have that vision?
It's 2 separate questions. And look, I think from a football program standpoint, I think jury's probably still out on on Frost, right? And I think there's still some stuff we have to do there. I think this year will be a big part of where that looks like. So put him in the 6-7 range for the kids there. Terry's another story because obviously Terry has an entire department. He's been here a number of years. He has a number of different factors at play there. So that's a bit of a different story. But I think if you're asking for Frost and football, I think Jerry's still a little bit out on Frost.
At _Ed, do you think Frost has any regrets getting back into college football?
You left out the first part of that question, which is fantastic.
Well, it was a visual question. It was a Yahoo
question.
graphic that showed a very.
You all saw the graphic that had him looking like Santa Claus, right? It's a good question. There's probably a little bit of him that says, "Man, like I had it maybe good in the NFL life, and I had a trajectory in a tree that I could go to there." You saw Chris Kleiman this week, Kansas State, Trace walk away.
That came as a bit of a surprise, huh?
Same. Hey, well, he had that moment at the press conference where he got really emotional, and so maybe that was kind of the first cracks at that too. But I do think with the way college football is, you're going to see coaches burn out more and more, and so there's probably an element of him at times that goes, "Man, I could have just been doing X, and here I am now, arguing over a player's agent over $50K in NAL money." Right? There's probably an element of him that has some of that thought at times.
Couple of questions now about portal. We've talked a little bit about it throughout the show, a little bit with Chris at HAD Broadcast. Do you think UCF seeks out a senior quarterback transfer for the third straight season to be a starter? I think the answer to that is yes. While Frost and Milton get the younger quarterbacks coming into school up to speed on offense, UCF has really swung and missed the past 2 years in that department. Let me loop in the other questions. Mary Ashbaugh 6, what positions do you think Frost should focus on the most? That was a question you asked to Chris Boyle. And Knights with a 1 in it at Blue Sky, who goes into the portal, and does UCF lose any coaches? So let's just play around with those questions. Yes. Would you be excited to have Cam Fancher back? The Cam Fancher era at UCF was short-lived. We didn't see much. He certainly had some moxie, taking as many hits as he did in that Cincinnati game.
Yeah, what I think was interesting, Trey, and Chris said it. I meant to follow up and ask the question, but time got away from us there. We hear a lot about a bridge quarterback, right? What does a bridge quarterback mean? Someone who's essentially holding the seat until one of the younger guys is ready to take that seat. How long is that? Is that 5 games? Is that a season? Is that 3 games? What does that mean? And if you're coming in as a bridge quarterback, and that's kind of what you're known to be, how many people are signing up for that? Like how many guys with 2 years of eligibility are like, wait, I'm going to kind of be a bridge while you wait for this kid? And so I don't know how.
Well, the money will dictate that, right? They'll go where they get paid.
I need to know more about that. If you're saying a true bridge of someone who can come in, kind of keep the seat warm until that person's ready, we didn't see a lot of Cam. We didn't see him healthy, and so he would fit that.
He earned the job coming out of camp.
He would fit that mold. Now, I don't think you bring in a kid with 3 years of eligibility, you'll have him say, "Hey, you're a bridge quarterback until these kids are ready here." And I also think it's interesting. Frost talked a lot about Dante Carr fixing his stroke, fixing his fundamentals. He was recruited to play other positions. I'll be curious to see if he continues on the quarterback track at UCF or at some point in time. Do they think about other positions for him? But if you're talking true bridge quarterback, that to me defined as a guy who's willing to be here for a short period of time and is comfortable maybe not playing that entire period of time.
If they don't get quarterback right, they got to get offensive line right. Right, they got to get the running backs right. If they don't get the quarterback right this coming season, because, we're talking about between 5 and 7 wins when we were playing this game on Around the Kingdom. But what's going to be a number that satisfies the fan base? Maybe that's a topic on next week's ATK. What about who goes into the portal? UCF is going to turn over a lot of players. It's not just the graduating players. They still want to shake out this roster. I think you're going to see some names like Good that was on there that you go, okay, Williams that we talked about. But there are going to be some names that surprise you that you're not going to want to see have entered the portal for any number of reasons. There's still going to be a lot of shakeout. It's going to be a daily thing. Chris, of course, has got the portal tracker up there, as do many sites. Refresh it. You're going to see more guys enter the portal.
Yeah, my suspicion, Trace, obviously a lot of offensive guys. I think, again, these are two-way street conversations now. These are, hey, do you want to come back and do we see a fit for you here, right? So looking at the offense in total, obviously not a lot of production from that side of the ball. I think you may see some turnover there too. I think the other position group that I look at, I think about, we just have a glut of good players or good young players is defensive back. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple in the defensive back maybe say, hey, I don't fit here. I can't crack this rotation. They're bringing in other guys. So I think DBs would be another area that I would keep an eye on. It just feels like we have a glut of defensive backs that are back there. And obviously you can't play all of them. So that's another spot I'd take a look at.
It would be interesting to sit in on these conversations, right? It's a bit of a performance review, a bit of an exit interview, right? I mean, some kids are going to be blindsided. They think they're coming back.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fascinating. I mean, I know they did the Hard Knocks thing about the NFL, like a Hard Knocks style show about some of this stuff would certainly be fascinating.
Yeah, bring back that ESPN show that covered UCF. I'd like to see it right now.
But fascinating, I think, for some kids and even coaching staffs. You probably pour into a kid who comes in and says, "Hey, I want to go someplace else and get more money." Like both these conversations are going to be tough. And when we brought mature subjects into college sports, now you have to have mature conversations. And just like all of us in the professional world sit down with our bosses and get performance reviews and get told we get a raise or we don't get a raise, or we get a promotion or we don't get a promotion. It's kind of, it's kind of the same concept happening early on for these kids in a setting that is a little bit different than I think maybe we all assumed college sports would be. How
am I doing? How's my performance?
Not bad. Listen, you're always wearing the right shirt. I'll give you that right now. Like in terms of
I'm in uniform.
you are always on time, always in uniform. I'll give you that.
Okay, well, that's two things we can build upon. At UCF Knights win, probably the worst P4 team UCF played last year was Arizona, which finished 4-8 under their first-year head coach, 9-3 this year, and under legendary Brent Brennan. I think that is directed at you. Is it fair to expect a similar result for UCF next year? We saw the jump for Willie Fritz. UCF will be compared to Rich Rodriguez and what he does in year 2, right? So that's a big jump. I mean,
is it fair? Is it fair? No.
What's the fan base? No. What's a fair though for the fan base? If you accept year 0 and all of these things, you can't have 5 wins. That's not going to be acceptable. 6 wins seems like a minimum.
Yeah, I think 7 is where you start.
7.
Yeah.
Look at the schedule next year. We don't know who's on these teams, but that home slate, and I know UCF plays pretty well. It's not the same bounce house dominance as it was back in 17-18, that time frame. But they've got Arizona State, they've got Iowa State, they've got BYU. They've got tough teams at home.
6-7, Patrick.
7, 5-7 to 7-5.
I think so. I think 7 is where what people are going to expect to be fair.
How much
now
more
you had a full now you had a full year.
You could see an 8. You could see a 9. That's about right. That's 9.
Yeah. Now you had a full year. You got the class you wanted. You got the coaching staff you wanted, right? So all of the handcuffs that maybe you walked into are now removed, and so I think fans are going to say, "Hey, we expect you to win 2 more games." I think that'll be a fair thought process. Whether that's fair in the field, I guess we'll see. But I think all the excuses are removed, handcuffs are off. You've got everything you need now. Go win 2 more games and win one on the road.
What'd you think of these reports of Sorsby, the quarterback from Cincinnati, maybe commanding upwards of $4 million? Maybe that number is not the real number, but there's a big number attached to him, right?
I never know what to believe on those things. It's
a big number, though.
It's an astronomical number, but you're hearing rumors about that kind of stuff all over the place. So it's not shocking, but that's the risk you run. Is if you're Cincinnati, do you look back at that investment and say we made our money back there?
Interesting. Thanks everybody for your questions. All right, time to play What's in the Box.
And What's in the Box, Tracy? And that's brought to you by our good friends at Alumni Hall, 4100 North Alafaya Trail, or you can always find them at alumnihall.com. Christmas time, kids. Get some gifts.
Let's see.
Get some gifts.
Okay. Would you rather only be able to use a fork without a spoon in your life, or a spoon but you don't get a fork?
So every meal I eat, I can
forever on the island, anywhere you're at.
I feel like a fork is more utilitarian. Like if I have a piece of steak, like I can't stab. I feel like I can scoop with a fork, and I can stab with a fork.
See, you'd be giving up on soup.
I could
unless
cut
it was a hearty soup.
Yeah, I could cut like a piece of meat. So I think I'm going fork.
What's something that the fork couldn't cover you on that would be spoonable. Like, I mean, if it's just a brothy kind of soup, you're going to be, you're not getting anywhere.
You may
there,
just have to
but
sip that. Just sip that. You know what I mean? You just
anything else? I mean, you could eat yogurt.
yogurt.
I mean, as long as the cereal was wet, you don't even need to have the milk.
Yeah, that's going to clump. Yeah.
I think the fork is the answer.
I already said that. Yeah, so the fork this has been established by me more than 10 seconds ago when I said fork is the right answer.
Easy.
Because
speaking
you
of 10 seconds, speaking of 10 seconds, let's hear the
you want the portal sound again? I was so happy.
It sounded like you were sending me to the portal with the dismissiveness.
Is that campaign shirt? Like all of a sudden, you don't know what you're. It's exciting.
Oh my goodness, the hijinks on this show. Robert nearly arrested about a half hour ago outside the Star.
I can report Robert back at home. He's still in the green room, back at home. He's home safe. And so he's waving to you, to us. He's back. He's safe. I don't see any law enforcement officials anywhere in the shot that he's in. So I think we're good.
All right. Your final pick, BYU, Texas Tech. Until BYU can prove otherwise, Texas Tech wins the game.
I agree. Give me Tech. Give me Tech to win.
One team in the playoff, it'll be Tech unless BYU can find a way to win that. So I want to thank Chris Boyle. Thank all of you. Thank Robert for joining us for this week's Sons of UCF Live. For Adam Eaton, I'm Trey Strelko. Go Knights.
Charge on. I forgot. I got to hit a button here. I thought I was done.
I'm Dante Culpepper. Thanks for watching the Sons of UCF.
Thumbs up.
We had a lot of Dante quarterback talk this year, so I figured we'd go Dante.
How about the young fans saying Rocco Marriott, the highest rated quarterback? All right, hold on. I know the rating systems were different.
Dante will be live, by the way, with the Knights 24/7 crew soon, so check that out.
Are you
can ask
with
him
that?
Any questions. I'm angling, trying to. I've already annoyed Latavius Murray. I figure I can now start annoying Dante Culpepper as well. So that's just my.
Do they know one another?
I assume they've met at some point.
Can you ask that question?
You know what? I'm recording Latavius as soon as we wrap this up, so that's the first thing I'll ask him.
Okay, I'll shut up now.
Television's Trey Strelko wants to know if you are familiar with one Dante.
That's what I call Nick Williams. TV's Nick Williams. He always looks like he's ready for TV.
He's getting so much better though. By the way, that mustache got to go though.